Hey guys and girls, PokerThinking here, back with another video. This time we have a graded card video. This time we've got a comparison video, so it's not an opening, something slightly different. We've done some similar videos in the past, but this time it is actually a comparison video of two very different graded companies. These are probably arguably number one and number two of grading Flesh and Blood currently. I know that a lot of people submit to PSA, and I have submitted some cards to PSA for Flesh and Blood, but in the conversation of the premium and what is better, these are the two companies that I've always brought up. So Beckett, obviously everyone knows, is a very prestigious and old company. They've been graded cards for years. And you've got PCG, which is a very new company. The last couple of years they've been out. And they've got a very different kind of slab. So you got the bulky BGS slabs, really, which everyone talk about. It's the square. They have the card in the sleeve. Pretty standard. You have the 4 subgrades, and then you have the main grade. And they've recently changed. Anything 9 below now is silver, whereas it used to be, I think it was 8.5 and below was white, and 9 was silver. But now they've changed that. And of course, 9.5 and 10 is gold, and then you've got black label, which is completely pristine. But you've also got PCG. So these are the company that's actually partnered with Flesh and Blood, LSS. So when you go to events and tournaments, if you win a gold cold foil, it will actually have a 9+ here. It will already be pre-graded by PCG. So they're in partnership with LSS, who make Flesh and Blood. That was a big thing. I think the last couple of years definitely was to kind of get that sort of sorted for PCG, I suppose. That's probably a very big selling point on them. So they have become the sort of fastest growing graded company, I'd say, out there, especially in like New Zealand, Australia, and America. They currently aren't in Europe yet, but they are planning to open up a hub in the UK and in Germany so that people can submit through Europe. I don't know if it will go to them, then go to the US, or they'll actually grade within Europe. Either of those would be a good option. Obviously, grading inside Europe would be really good. To give me a chance to sort of submit, and a lot of people as well to give a chance, because at the moment really the main dog is BGS, so we don't get much variety. But I recently bought this Robe of Rapture, which is a Arcane Rising cold foil. One, because I really like the card. It's a Wizard Equipment chest. It pops, the colours are really beautiful, the cold foil is lovely, but also because I wanted to hold a PCG slab. Because you currently can't submit. I contacted them and they don't take submissions or ship to the UK currently. So I would have to use a middleman if I wanted to grade. And that seems like a lot of work just to be able to do that. But we'll go through this card anyway. So you have the subgrades and you have the circles there. And they'll be fully complete when they hit the 10, I guess. And they've recently rolled out metal labels. And they're kind of equivalent of a black label, essentially, which is really nice reflective gold. And if we ever get the chance to get those, we will be showing those on the channel. But if not, Fabled Hunters showed them recently on their video. I'll put a link in the description below, just because that's the kind of content that if you're watching this, you probably should be watching as well. You know, that the content they do is very good, and they are partnered with BGS. But I like that they are willing to show other options. And of course, because this is the official grading partner of Flesh and Blood, I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. So overall, I'm a big fan of these slabs. They're very lightweight. They're similar to PSA, but they actually they're not completely as flat as PSA slabs. I do have an MGC slab, which is similar, so you can kind of tell the difference, and they are slightly similar. PSA have this frosted look to them, whereas this is completely clear, and they have obviously at the bottom PCG there, so it's frosted on the outside, but it's not the kind of same. You can see the difference in the slabs. This kind of goes out a little bit, which is really nice. I will be showing off a PSA Flesh and Blood slab when I get my returns. I sent off a Mark of the Beast and a alternative Channel 8 Frigid, which would be nice. So yeah, going through this, obviously we're not just showing just the actual card itself, but the slab itself. It's very nice. Very similar to kind of what we have, but you can see it's very modern, very sleek, to kind of move into the front edge. And this is kind of raised a little bit, all of this, the front of it, but is very nice. And then in comparison, of course, you've got the BGS, which is, people say they're very bulky. Obviously, this has been the company that I have been using to grade Flesh and Blood. They are at the moment very slow in comparison to PSA and PCG. They're definitely slacking. I think that PSA did really well to clear that backlog. Nat Turner sort of took over and kind of rolled out and implemented a lot of good changes. BGS kind of needs to start expanding a little bit because they're kind of sort of flagging behind a little bit, really. And if they're not careful, they're going to start moving out of the top three. I know that a lot of TCGs use BGS. Weiss Schwartz specifically, One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, a lot of card games use it. Obviously Pokemon as well, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Flesh and Blood. But if there are better alternatives, people will start using them. Obviously at the moment, the big pro plus point for BGS is the market premium that they get. So if this was both the same card, both the same grades, this would be worth slightly more than this. Same cards, if you had the same subgrades, if the same seller was selling them both at the same time, this would sell for a bit more, just because BGS is a very recognised household name within grading and trading cards. So people will go for the card that has that premium on it. Not necessarily in terms of the product display and design, but in terms of just that's what you get for being a long-standing company. And that's why PSA, are the top for grading cards in general. They've established themselves at the top, and the last sort of 24 months has proven that they can innovate, they can progress, and they can expand, which is something that a lot of people criticised them for, and they've delivered for me. They've delivered in every single aspect. And a lot of the stuff that's been happening with Ludkins, for instance, they are returning submissions back to people. They didn't get paid for all these submissions. There's thousands of submissions. It's over 1 million that they're owed by Barney and Ludkins, and they are doing that, and all they're asking for is the postage costs, which I think is fantastic. And a lot of people aren't really talking about that, but a lot of mad respect for them. And I've spoken to Nat Turner through email quite a few times now. He's helped me with a couple of questions I've had and some inquiries and some cards that I wanted to get graded. And he's been absolutely nothing but helpful. He replies when he can. Of course, he's very busy, as well as running the company. Obviously, he sort of has his own life outside of that. And he even got me in touch with their research department when I was trying to sort out some cards that I wanted to grade that wasn't on their catalogue. So, that kind of whole thing is a big sort of plus for them. Obviously, when I do a submission for PCG, I will record the whole process, send in the cards. I might do a video on how to sort of submit to them, because I know a lot of people within the Flesh and Blood community now are starting to go, right, should I grade these cards? Should I start grading my, Unlimited Heart of Fiendels, just because of the price point, This one specifically I paid £150 for, and it came back a 9.5. So, that conversation is now starting to be had, which means more people are going to be grading, and people are going to be looking for value for money. They want a service that is very transparent. The communication's very good, which again I think is something BGS lack, and their middlemen as well. I'm not going to say who I use, just because I don't want to sort of put that company in a bad light, because I think a lot of it is on BGS. And from what I've seen within the last 6 months now, from multiple people submitting, You know, it isn't just a case of, oh, my card should be graded this, it shouldn't be graded that. There's so much more to it, and perhaps that's going to be a video for another topic for another video. But in terms of PCG versus BGS, you know, the price points are very similar, but the delivery is very different. The turnaround times are very different as well. I think for PCG it's a couple of weeks at the moment. Obviously, they're a smaller company. They're based in New Zealand, Australia. They've got in the US as well. They're going to be opening up to Malaysia, I believe, and Japan. So they're going to be opening up in Europe as well. So they are kind of sort of planting themselves, you know, globally. And they've obviously got a plan, which I think is fantastic. They are grading other cards as well. They do grade multiple TCGs. Obviously, this is just because I grade Flesh and Blood. But they do grade Pokemon. They recently had a PCG first edition base set Charizard. It was a PCG 8. Obviously, when a grading company has a card of that stature, that is, you know, that is something to say. You know, a PCG 8, you know, first edition base set Charizard is a big card. You know, I don't know the term of value of it right now, but it's a massive card. So clearly someone's trusted them to grade that. And, you know, if you go on their website, you just look online, go on eBay, have a look at some PCG slabs, maybe pick up one for yourself to compare and kind of have that conversation with yourself, because I personally was very pro BGS up until I had this in my hand, and looking at it and holding it, you know, it's definitely a conversation I've had with myself recently. And I'm not saying strictly one is completely better than the other. They're very different. But for me, right now, you know, I want to grade cards for my collection and I have no interest in selling. So it seems that PCG is probably a better option for me. However, currently I have no option but to use BGS unless I obviously want to find a middleman in the US that I trust to send the cards for me and send them back to me. And for me, that's a process I'm just not really willing to look at currently. There's more to it, really, than I would like when I'm grading cards. Whereas with BGS, I send it to the middleman company here in the UK. They send it to them, and, you know. So, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's very slightly different. I didn't sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and write down what I was going to put in this video. I have a vague idea when I do videos, but I don't like to sort of bullet point plan them, because I kind of want it to be fluid and I want it to be sort of chaotic, I suppose, just because that's the kind of content that I want to make. So hope you've all enjoyed this. Please comment, like, subscribe as always, and chuck in the comments below what kind of slab do you prefer.